All right, y'all, we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business today. Going to take a look at its, high intent Google searches that boudoir buyers are searching. See if it has BSS and see if we're meeting the GBC recommended minimum of hitting 3 out of 10 page one Google slots. So we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more on this, pinned video, home video, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph in white here. Highest intent people on the left. These are the peeps searching literally today for, boudoir photo shoot in their city. We focus on those peeps here with our BSS videos about BSS because these are highest intent, easiest to convert, closest to the money people. Over on the right, our lowest intent people. We talk about those with our sister brand of Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And currently over there, we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand per month in boudoir Facebook ads. Now, BSS means boudoir search sameness. That means a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. 0 slots on page 1 on Google means obviously, they're on page 2 or deeper, somewhere deeper. And we care about this because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never ever even hit page 2. They're page 1 and done searches, that's it, which means if we're on page 2, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the market. And 1 slot on page 1 of Google, that ain't good either because, there's 10 organic slots page 1 on Google. If 9 other boudoir photographers each have 1 slot, everyone's looking the same, everyone's got 1 slot. We're not saying that, we're basically invisible, and guess what? A boudoir photographer is, or a boudoir buyer, their behavior is going to be just clicking through everyone on page 1. Well, approximately 80% of the boudoir buyers, they're only going to be clicking through everyone on page 1. They'll never go to page 2. And they'll be comparing everyone on page 1. And as a result, they will, filling out everyone's contact form, getting price quotes, negotiating, pulling down the price, asking for more. It's kind of annoying to deal with, to run a business that way. And most of them won't even go with us. So it's like, man, what's even the point? Now, 0 1 slots on page 1 of Google is actually not normal. It is a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. And those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, the number one thing there is, well, basically everyone knows this. This is more boudoir photographers entering the market over time. Just simply as people upgrade their gear, kind of like get a new iPhone, get a new camera. This just naturally happens. Then eventually they throw up their Google My Business profile saying they're a boudoir photographer. They've got their website ranking on page 1 on Google, they're competing to, saying they shoot boudoir photography. They are also increasingly posting in the mom groups on Facebook that that they now offer boudoir photo shoots. And a big market saturation time with COVID, tons of people lost their jobs, so they earn money. Everyone's got a super powered smartphone with awesome camera. Tons of people became boudoir photographers in that time. Now, the false belief of page 1 equality, this is the new one that very few people know about. So what this is actually, a lot of boudoir photographers have kind of assumed or accepted that every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google. And it's kind of like, yeah, whether Google wants to give you that slot, yes or no. And maybe you're on, who knows, slot 7, page 1, slot 7. Then some market saturation happened. Now you're on page 2, slot 2. And a lot of boudoir photographers are like, oh, well, I hope those new peeps, delete their website and Google de-indexes them. So maybe Google will bring me back up onto page 1. But no, this is 100% incorrect. This is the wrong way to think about it, because what we have learned, and we have the data to show, is Google will actually give us as many page 1 slots on Google as we want, and we actually do put in the effort to acquire. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days with this new methodology we discovered. So that's how we know the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief. Now, boudoir photographer with BSS, boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. Again, if we got 0 slots page 1 Google search, that means we're page 2 or deeper, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. If we got 1 slot page 1 on Google, we're looking the same as the other 9 competitors. that are on there for a total of 10 slots. We're still invisible. We're still disappearing. We're slowly dying. So in both these scenarios, it's kind of the canary in the coal mine, kind of the warning light, the red flag that's telling us our boudoir photography business itself is now on its way to disappearing. But thankfully, we now have a solution. We've discovered that BSS is actually treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology. And we know this because we invented it. That's how we went from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google in only 10 days. We'll see that data here, I don't know, like 4 or 5 more pictures. Now, S-cubed methodology, the way it works, it's exactly in the name. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, so we show up them there for those. And this is kind of like, when we do this, it's kind of like the snow at the top of the Andes Mountains down in South America on the eastern side, the backside. Snow back there. What eventually happens is that snow melts, small streams, small rivers, and guess what? It all flows into the Amazon River. That Amazon River is Google page 1. But to get all that water there, first got to be snow at the top of the mountains. So saturating social search, that's our snow. That's where everything begins. That's the input we care about, our S-cubed methodology. Everything flows from successfully executing S-cubed methodology correctly. And the interesting thing about this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that actually enables them, that gives them a chance for their business to continue to grow, even in the face of market saturation, and even if they don't have a large, well-known brand, and to do all this give them this opportunity in a relatively quick time frame. The only other shot would obviously to have a large, well-known brand to compete against market saturation. But dude, that takes 5 to 10 years. We ain't got that time. We got AI taking people's jobs. We don't have time. We don't have 5 to 10 years to build a large, well-known brand. What's actually interesting is utilizing S-cubed methodology. My estimates is it will actually speed up the process of creating a large, well-known brand in an area by approximately 8x, because it'll be seen with such a much higher frequency across so many more platforms. That's my estimates. It's kind of like a secondary benefit of utilizing this technology. So now an example. All right, so right now we're going to Phoenix, and there are currently 1 million boudoir photographers in Phoenix. We are one of them. Since we don't have a large, well-known brand, then the only way we can, everyone's got their websites and their boudoir photographer competing page 1 in Google search. So since nobody's got any of those since there's so many competitors, we realize, all right, we got to use S-cubed methodology to get out of this mess. Let's say we crank it up to the max. Let's say we're ranked for the first 300 slots across all of social search for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. And let's say that flows out onto Google. And we're taking up the first 300 organic slots on Google. And we know it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. And so as a result, we're taking up literally the first 30 pages. And we are basically, for any boudoir buyer to find any of our competitors, they got to scroll down to slot 301. And on Google, that's page 31. I mean, who's doing that? Basically no one. So when any boudoir buyer is actually searching for, any boudoir photo shoot in our city or any high intent boudoir buyer keyword in our city, we're basically the only ones showing up. And as a result, we, whose business is growing? Most likely ours. Whose business is dying, fading, disappearing? Most likely the other 999,999 boudoir photographers that buyers really can't even find them because we're saturating all the surfaces where they could be found. So this is kind of a ultra extreme example of what S-cubed methodology can enable for a boudoir photography business. Now, once you're with S-cubed methodology, we have page 1 visibility, P1V. Yeah, we got our initial benefit, more slots page 1 on Google. Got our second initial benefit of every new slot we get page 1 on Google. We actually get, we're actually kicking our competing boudoir photographers in our city off that page. And we effectively make them invisible because now they're on page 2 or deeper, and we already know approximately 80% of Google searches are page one only searches. So we can basically choose to make our competitors disappear and put their business on the path of disappearing with depending on how much effort we want to put into acquiring all these slots. Now, page one visibility activates Boudoir search visibility for us, BSV. So this is where the GBC universe has a recommended minimum of having minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one Google search. That's because all the other boudoir photographers will basically have one slot, so we're going to be dominating them for buyers scrolling page one. And on the ultra rare case, someone has 2 slots, we're going to be dominating them as well because we have 3. We also know the boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, VBP. So we got our full basically our full kind of got our full micro universe here. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one equality, the false belief page one equality. We can now solve it with S-cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility. We become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. Just kind of our micro universe here. And now we're gonna look at my results. So the results that I got, purely using S-cubed methodology. So I want to dominate rank for this keyword, BLCS boudoir. I want to dominate page one Google search. And let's see the results I got with it. So we're getting slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. And slot 10, me. So the best thing about this is from 0 out of 10 slots page one Google search to 9 out of 10 slots page one Google search in only 10 days, purely utilizing S-cubed methodology. Now into the main event here. Going to see this boudoir photography business, see how the search is looking for the local and city search. Actually, they're both in this case. See if we got BSS, yes or no. See if we're in the GBC recommended minimum 3 out of 10 slots paid on Google, or let's hit it, Bellingham, Washington. All right, so let's see what we got. Let's see. All right, so we do got one. Boom, we got one. All right, we got one. So we got 1 out of 10. And city's always the hardest one to rank for. So we got 1 out of 10, that's good. But we got BSS, we got boudoir search sameness. We also got, we're not hitting the GBC recommended amount of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've done the local search for yourself for the highest intent buyer keywords and the highest intent, and you've done the city search for yourself for the highest intent buyer keywords. And you have BSS for one or both of them, and or you have not met the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one Google slots for one or both of them. And you understand the market saturation. Yeah, people get new gear. Okay, more boudoir photographers always over time. It's always increasing. And you want to kick out those current competitors. And you're seeing S-cubed methodology is the only path to successfully do that. But you're also thinking ahead of, man, AI is taking more and more people's jobs, it seems, every day. So if AI is taking more and more people's jobs every day, then there's probably going to be more and more. It's going to be like the third prong of things that's pushing more boudoir photographers. And it's not just new iPhone or new camera. It's now losing jobs due to AI. So you see, okay, more and more boudoir photographers going to be entering the market. We actually want to increase the kind of pre-fortify our position before this monster tsunami or kind of this increasing wave of new boudoir photographers enters the market, competing with us for page one. Want to pre-fortify our positions in expectation. That kind of like the levees in New Orleans. I think it's like the built-up sandbag things to keep the ocean at bay, because the city is below sea level. And we actually want to decide you want to pre-fortify your position to also pre-fortify your position on Google page one to all the new Boudoir photographers that will eventually be coming in because more and more people lose their job to AI. And you're also seeing, hey, S-cubed methodology is the only path for that. You've accepted that page one equality is a false belief, and Google will actually give us as many slots on page one as we want to put in the effort to take. So you've accepted the false belief of page one inequality is false. So you want to use S-cubed methodology, you see as the only solution, and you want the page one visibility. You want to become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility because you know you need this on your way to becoming the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you also want the two hidden back-end benefits of successfully executing S-cubed methodology every single day, which is kind of the more we execute it, the keywords that we use that we're starting to rank for, show up social search for, saturate that, show up Google page one for. It's basically building thematic keyword columns attached to our entire internet brand, our social accounts, our website, out there in the minds of AI. So every single day we successfully execute S-cubed methodology, we actually increase the probability that AI overview here recommends us, and Google still is about 90% of search, slowly decreasing every day though. So higher chance we get the one, the premium placement slot here, AI overview, because it's pulling from, our frequency, our density, our authority, our age of these different thematic keyword columns that S-cube allows us to tackle. So increase in probability of being shown up here and increase in probability of being showing up for all the AI search apps, ChatGPT search, Claude, Perplexity, and we got Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search. So kind of all this hidden back-end AI brain momentum every single day. It's kind of building up momentum every single day we execute S-cubed methodology. And you're seeing, since my plans only work with one boudoir photographer per city, that you decide you want to hop on this first, be a first mover, because every single day we execute S-cubed methodology correctly. We're getting the initial benefits, the quick future benefits, and the longer term momentum AI brain recommendation benefits, building up the momentum, and you're putting massive gap between you and all the current competitors, and definitely all the ones that have not entered yet, but we know they will because AI will be taking a bunch of people's jobs. And so you want all that, and you also see if some other boudoir photographer in your same city were to work with me instead, that you would actually have to figure out S-cubed methodology on your own, and you would never actually know if you've rederived it correctly. And then you'd have to go equal our execution every single day, execute an S-cubed methodology, which you'd have to equal our effort and you'd have to be confident in it, which you would not have 100% confidence because you would not know if you've even derived S-cubed methodology correctly in the first place. And to do all that effort, you would simply be maintaining the gap me and your competitor have already built up against you. To actually close the gap, you'd have to double or triple outwork us every single day to close that gap. Basically kind of steal back that thematic keyword column momentum attached to your competitor's brand in the AI brain, the AI search brain, for all these AI ops, and pull it back to your brand. And so you decide, okay, screw that. I'd rather just be the first mover and not be dealing with the laggard position of not being the #1 boudoir photographer in my city, because I know a ton of boudoir photographers going to be entering because of AI taking Peep's job. So if that's you, shoot me a DM. When I open my DMs for new patient intake, the hospital is currently closed. We're not currently taking in any new patients. But when I do open the hospital for new patient intake, shoot me a DM and we'll see if you qualify for using S-cubed methodology.